Okay, I'm gonna let it sit for a while, let the dust settle. And then this is the stuff that I ended up getting. Just plain old semi-gloss. It says it's warm, so it might add a little amber tint to it. We'll see. It's okay. And then for the brushes, I have the 2-inch and the 1.5-inch natural bristle. Okay, so I've let the air filtration thingy run for about a half hour. Hopefully that helps a little bit. Always poke holes in your cans. Okay. This is going to get multiple coats, so I'm putting it on kind of thin. I don't want to have runs. I will be sanding this in between coats. Boy, that cherry looks beautiful. Do see some imperfections in here. I'm not sure what's causing. Some of it's taken up the poly a little bit better than other spots, but not going to get too caught up because, like I said from the very beginning, these speakers are not going to be perfect. What I do when I'm doing poly, I go over the whole thing, and then whenever I have corners, I'll go over the corners just very lightly, because that's where you tend to get runs. And you can sand them out, but it's it ends up showing. It's hard to, kind of hard to fix. But this is kind of self-leveling, so you don't really need to match your brush strokes that well. I tend to like to do one final pass all going the same direction, but if you need to lightly go over a corner to get the excess, that's fine. This is not the most stable setup I have here. Definitely a few spots where I've missed, or it's a little thin. Not a big deal. This is going to get multiple coats. I don't know how many, but at least 2, probably 3 or 4. And I'll sand. The more coats you do, well, I find, and sanding in between with like a 1000 grit. Get yourself a quality brush, because the worst thing in the world is picking bristles out of your poly. And just as I said that, I found a bristle. Sometimes it's unavoidable, especially when you're bending your brush around different angles. Save the ends until you've used most of the poly on your brush. Don't start with a fresh load of poly on your brush and then go right to your edges, because they'll just make drops all over the place. Hear my dogs in the background. They are not the most well behaved. They are cute, however. Okay, so it's been drying for about 3 hours. Now we're going to do a light sand with 220. Seems rough to me. I've always done like 400 or 500, 600 in between coats, but the directions say 220, so that's what we're going to do. After this coat, I'll let it dry overnight, and then I will do one final sand and finish in the morning. Let's see how it looks. Let's see if I want to do 3 or 4 coats. I know it's toxic, but I love the smell of polyurethane. It just smells so good. The oil-based, of course. And it's always the last part of your project. So it's like you've done all this work, now you're putting the finish on. It just, I don't know, has these nostalgic... I said it before, I think, but you wouldn't think a box would be so hard to build. But these were not easy. I mean, with all the routing and the joining, I had to figure out which joint I was going to use. I bought a special router bit. I thought I was going to use this real fancy joint. It's supposed to be like one of the best joints for joining corners because you get the most like surface area for gluing. Well, turns out that doesn't work with plywood. And then this particular plywood that I bought was garbage to begin with. And the layers of veneer that were glued, you know, this plywood is a bunch of different layers glued together. They kind of started delaminating. So then I ended up having to use veneer. I wasn't planning on using veneer. I mean, I was starting out with Baltic birch plywood to begin with. Why should I have to use birch veneer? Well, it just didn't work out that way. So then I learned how to do some veneer work. And I gotta say, I am pretty pleased with my veneer job. It's not perfect by any means, but I don't know, I think it looks pretty good. And using the iron-on method, I think worked out pretty good. Oops, there's some schmutz. But yeah, I mean, of course, I'm not a woodworker. I'm not a metal worker. I'm not really anything. I'm just a guy in my garage playing around. So yeah, I'm sure for some people making a box is simple, but I did not find it to be so. And I'm sure if you measure these, they're not square. Yeah, they're close. I don't think you can tell with the eye that they're not square, but nobody gonna know. Can't get over how good that cherry looks. This is semi-gloss. I could have used gloss, but generally the more shiny your finish, the more imperfections it shows. So we went with semi-gloss, and man, does it pop. Didn't need to put the cherry fronts on. It's a lot of extra work. I could have just put veneer, but I'm glad I did it now. And another cool thing, if I didn't mention it yet, this cherry is from my family farm. So my dad cut down this cherry, oh gosh, 25, 30 years ago. And it's been stacked, what they call stickered, meaning it's, you take little strips of wood and you put it in between the boards, that way it dries even and it gets airflow. So they've been stickered and stacked in our, what we call the granary. It's a building on my parents' property. And whenever I have a project that needs a nice looking hardwood, I go and grab a few boards of the maple or the cherry, and man, I've used it for shelves. I have a butcher block tabletop. It's just beautiful. It doesn't really show until you get the poly on it, but once you get the poly on it, it just really pops. Really looks good. Oof da. Oof da may. Let's see if I can put some light on it. Man, does that look good. Cool. Well, I think we're good. As good as it's gonna get. I'm pretty happy. I'll let this dry, and then comes the fun part. Get to put speakers in and test the things. Could you imagine doing all this work and they don't work? Well, as long as I built the crossovers right, they should work. Okay, so first I need to get the wire. Now, this wire should be the only one. Okay. This should be good here. So we have a big one. Ooh, don't do that. Okay. Ooh, this is exciting. I'll get the other one hooked up too, I think. Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna line up the holes here. Recording that last little bit, but take a look. Man, is that pretty. All right, so we have to make our base tubes at 7.5 inches. That's per the instructions. me just double check that. So I measured at 1 inch. It needed to be 1.5 inches. Okay. All right. Seven and a half. Sweet. Okay. Let's let them dry overnight. Of course, they'll be dry in a few minutes, but I won't be back till tonight. And then we'll finish up. What's going on here? Nice and flush. Now.
Put the tube in?
Yeah. too bad. All of the components so far are countersunk for the screws, except for these.
Gotcha. Yeah, the heads stick out. Sorry.
But they definitely look better because they're countersunk.
Right. What were you doing all that clean yourself?
Okay, well, it's the moment of truth. The instructions say start with a low volume. Let's see what we got. They're working. It's creamy. I don't want to do low volume. I want to turn them up.